Hey guys, we just got back from the movies. There wasn't a whole lot like that initially would appeal to me. It's the month of January. Sometimes that's where you get this. However, I did know about a film that came out last year in limited viewings, I, Tonya. Of course, this is the story of Tonya Harding, the very famous, or rather infamous, figure skater who may or may not have been directly or indirectly involved in the bashing of the knee of her closest rival so that she can get ahead. And this became a movie, and it came out in wide release. And so that's the film that we saw. And I'm sure some of you, at least in my audience, where the fuck would I want to watch this? But so good. I mean, she's at peak levels here. Just so fascinating and entertaining to watch. That it's a great story. And honestly, I don't know. I'm kind of fascinated by, figure skating. Don't judge me, Joe.
I don't know anything about it, and I went into this going in blind. The only thing I knew was the incident.
Yeah.
And now I want to go and check some of this stuff out.
Whatever, Joe.
I watched a lot of figure skating growing up. My grandmother controlled the TV, so she loved figure skating, so I watched a lot. Knew the difference between toe jumps and edge jumps and sow cows and lutzes and axles and all these things.
Well, now you've lost me. I know a little because I was interested in it.
But I was 9 when this happened, and I didn't know the backstory of this movie. I knew that some woman got her knee bashed in.
Yeah.
And
Same here.
And then that's all I knew. But this was fascinating.
I think I was 8 or 10 years old, and I think when this thing went down. But I do remember specifically at my grandma's house too. Ironically enough, there's all that other good stuff, but. I think another reason why I can recommend it is it has a good message on the greater whole about America and the dirty or dingy side of things and the
24-hour news cycle.
It's a lot of these different elements that they touched on, and I think that's actually pretty relevant to what's going on today. So what do you think?
I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I got to learn the details of a story that I thought I was familiar with, and I didn't realize how much I didn't know.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to. It's kind of hard to believe some of these things in here, right? This is based on a true story.
Kind of thing.
Well, two interviews, right?
Is true.
Yeah.
So it's pretty
the whole film is in the style of the sort of an interview. She talks to the audience. She breaks the fourth wall. How did you feel about that, Joe? Did you like that style?
I like that aspect. Yeah, she did that.
That they cross the stories. One side would be this is how it went down. And then she's, oh no, I never did this when she pumps the shotgun because he said, oh no, she'd get rough with me. And she's like, nah, you're the one always hitting me all the time and stuff. And so she'd show that. And that's a painful thing to watch. And they kind of, I don't know, because that's some abuse in this film, man. She gets hit a lot by this Jeff character, and it's making me mad. It's pissing me off, and she keeps she goes back to the situation. So, there are moments of the film that you're like, is the film glorifying this? But no, it's more, or combing, brushing over it. But no, this is real life. This kind of stuff happens all the time. And it can happen to world-class figure skaters, or it can happen to redneck, white trash that you would expect it to happen to or whatever. And this is a kind of a clash of cultures, and that's kind of what makes it so fascinating to watch, that somebody traditionally who is not, fancy, dancy, this spitting image of what the figure skater should be, this elegant, almost princess-like image of what a woman is, versus this redneck coming in here kind of built a little, rough and tough and just rude to everybody and kind of treats others around her not so well. And this is the result. It's super fascinating. What did you think about some of the other, the way it was filmed and stuff?
The way it was filmed was great. I loved... Yeah. My favorite thing about the whole movie was actually the bodyguard, because they every scene that he was in,
amazing.
And he didn't show up all that often, but when he was there, he just stole the whole scene.
Because that is such a good. I've always known a friend like that, or somebody who we could put in that category.
Why?
That he's constantly bragging. He's gonna be your loose end if you ever do something illegal or to talk about. So we'll save that for the spoiler section. Let's give final verdicts. Let's jump over to OtherJoe, and what would you rate this film?
Well, this film, I really liked all the actors, especially the scenes with Allison and Margot.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the best scenes to me. But by far, Sean was the best character.
Side character.
And I was like, there's no way this guy believes what he's saying. Yet you see some of the real interviews. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
He actually
He
did
said
say
all
that?
of those things, yeah.
At the end of the film,
Okay.
you see real life
Okay,
versions of all
he's
this.
an idiot. But the transitions were great. Like during an interview, going back to the past, future, or past, present, and whatnot.
It's structured really well.
I really liked those transitions. It was pretty smooth to me. And it felt long, but I was entertained the entire time.
Yes. I'm feeling a high rating coming on here,
I'm
Joe.
going to give this an 8.
All right, an
Wow.
8 out of 10.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I really liked it.
Okay. And what are you feeling, Alex?
I really liked it. I love the characters. I thought that the acting was really like top notch. The kind of the moral of the story, if there is to get one out of there, one that
there's
they
a
tried
moral
to
here.
I harped on in the end was they said that like the 24-hour news cycle kind of creates things out of nothing. And what was nice is we see that immediately after the Tonya Harding incident, OJ's on the TV,
yeah.
and so they just
Yeah,
kind
that's pretty
of
weird.
it was kind of like the explosion of news that way. So I really liked it. I thought that the pacing in about 3/4 of the way through was a little bit slower. I wasn't entertained the entire time, so I was gonna give it like it's barely an 8, but it's an 8.
Yeah.
For me, it's an 8.
I thought even the slower parts were necessary. If I was the director, I think it's perfectly paced. And some really interesting cinematography, great performances from the character. They embellish some things for sure. I have to say that, but I think that a lot of it might actually be true too, and makes it even more fascinating. So, with all of those things considered, really strong writing too. I believed everything. Nothing ever took me out of the moment.
No.
Other than wow, this guy's really dumb. But there are really stupid people out there, and considering these criminals that they hire to eventually do participate in the incident, the way it goes down so poorly, it makes sense to me. So. Overall, I really enjoyed it, and even though it's one of those films I wouldn't go and seek out, I'm really happy that I watched it, and I find that a lot of these 9 out of 10 for me. I think it's a really.
I'm not surprised though.
It's a really tight, well-crafted film that will entertain you from start to finish, and we can.
Very emotional too.
Very
like
emo-
I felt
It's
so
funny.
bad. It felt
it's
so
funny
bad
too.
for Tonya.
Yeah,
too.
that's why it deserves a 9
Right.
because there's comedy, dark comedy, there's emotion, there's grief, there's abuse, and they tie it together in a way that is watchable. So fantastic job. Consider it if you've ever been fascinated with figure skating, if you've ever been and if you just want a dark comedy and are fascinated by really bombastic personalities and you're not supposed to be here, you're not supposed to be that way, well I'm here anyway, then this is your kind of film. So check it out if you're interested. Thank you so much, and stick around for spoilers. Super small spoiler section, but yeah, stick around if you're interested. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next Angry Joe Show. Bye guys. Okay, welcome to the spoiler section. There's a lot of little scenes here that I just want to give lip service to. That I love her mother. So I think right when the movie was like winding down during that pacing, that I think he had an issue. All of a sudden, her mother is cut in here, and she's like, "Well, my story went to shit. When are we gonna get back to me?" You know what I mean? That was so funny. It made me laugh out loud. And I like that whole documentary style that they were doing.
And then what kind of the very end of the movie where you see the actual interview with her mother with the bird on her shoulder
Yes.
picking at her
I
ear.
thought
I was
her
like,
mother.
There's no way.
I was like, there's no way that she's this eccentric
Yes.
and weird and awful. And then
And
they
I
show
thought the
up-
bird was just made up to make her more interesting.
No.
That happened. there's a burn right there, and she's talking, and she looked like that, and she's talking like that. And I was like, wow. Now, all this stuff about, pushing her around and never really loving her, that's some serious stuff. Like, it is implied here that her mother never loved her and just pushed her a lot, and stuff like that, at least initially. And the way she treats her daughter when her daughter is just a kid is some serious fucked
up. A show I saw on Netflix called Trophy Kids.
Yeah.
That's all their parents do.
Okay,
pushing. I'm like, damn. Man,
so it's not that far from what can happen when you have
the Little League game and you see like the dad freaking out. It's like, how dare you strike out? And
yeah.
So she had no childhood, basically.
No, she didn't, and it kind of made me feel sorry. I initially, and I wanted to say this in the review. God darn it, I forgot it. But basically, I was like, I don't want to see this movie about some criminal. Why are we glorifying a fucking criminal who was, bashed the knee of fucking Nancy Kerrigan? And Nancy probably believes this too. It's like, why the fuck are we doing this? But and whether her level of involvement, that's what I was thinking. I want to put that in the review, but I don't think there's a place for it. But anyway, it's like, what is her level of involvement? Because if she really was involved in planning all that stuff, then fuck fuck her. You deserved all that you got. But if it was more like it was in the film, or even less than it was like in the film, where she was just kind of around it, and I mean, these were dumbass, uneducated rednecks who were inspired by a death threat idea where, the fat guy, Sean, said, oh, I did the death threat later on. We don't know if that's true or not to Tonya, because it freaked Tonya out. And they were like, well, if this freaked Tonya out so much, why don't we do it to Nancy on behalf of, Tonya, and fuck with her head? And that's the reveal but then it goes too far because they hire these bumbling idiots and they want more money, and then it's like, what is this more money for? Are you doing something more? And it turns out Sean was like, Sean's in this fucking,
he's in
world,
his own world
that he's a
master of
spy espionage.
But you're
thing.
not.
He's being self-important, and so he actually fucks it up and bungles it up, and then afterwards he's blabbing off to all these people that he did it, and that gets the FBI on him and fucks everything up. So it's super fascinating. I love Sean. It's because that's like,
everyone has a friend. That's Sean.
That's your downfall. As soon as you see him, it's like, that's your downfall right there.
And because we've got the internet these days and social media, and there's always that one guy that like makes we know who these people are.
And I'm seriously gonna go look at his interviews. I
am fascinated.
I
am fascinated in the interviews, and I kind of wanted to go back and watch the real triple axel. They showed it, but I want to see the whole performance. And I was just fascinated by her being the first female triple axel. I think they said first woman. Right?
She was not in the world. She was the first American to do it.
No, I think it was
first American.
It was the first American.
Yeah, because someone I think Oksana Bayul did one.
Yeah. And so that's when I heard that name, Oksana Bayul, they said it in the thing, I was like, man, I remember some of this stuff because I remember Oksana Bayul's name, and I remember Nancy Kerrigan and Tonya Harding and being fascinated in that. And they were like, 23, 22 years old, all of those girls at the time, competing on this massive stage where all the eyes of the world are on you, and then the eyes of America. And I like how the movie said, America loves loving somebody and having, their attention, but they also love to have a villain.
Well, it also made
somebody to hate.
It was in the early 90s. I mean, the very end of towards the end of the Soviet Union, Oksana Bayul was dominating figure skating, and it was like this U.S. versus the now Russia thing that was going on.
But that was not in the film.
No,
they made it more between Nancy Kerrigan and Tonya Harding, which is kind of what they did in this film. So I'm just super interested in what Nancy Kerrigan has to say about this film, and of course what nowadays Tonya Harding has to say. I'm sure she's done a bunch of interviews, but I haven't watched them. But it's maybe she gets a little bit of vindication because her life kind of sucks. After this went down, she got banned by a judge from never skating in competition again in that kind of way. So her life essentially was over.
She couldn't coach either. Because she was banned from all of the associations.
And so she had to get some odd jobs.
18 months. And he served 8.
Yeah, so she actually kind of was punished more than the rest of those guys. Whether she deserved it or not, I don't know. We'll never know, I guess. But You know, so it was a fascinating film from start to finish. Anything else we can spoil? I was just really mad at Tonya for keep going back to Jeff. You know, he would
she grew
abuse
up with
her.
that.
But it's true.
But
Yeah.
she grew up with that.
That's
So
true.
that's all she knows. She's like, well, my mom did this and she loved me.
Yeah, because her
And
mom
so he
would
loves
hit
me.
her, and so he hits her. Exactly.
That's a toxic
So they tried to
relationship.
justify it. Well, not justify it, but they tried to tie it into why her character, one of her character weaknesses, how that would make sense, and it does. It is you know. But I just saw a lot of people complaining about it. But hey, yeah, it's a rough situation. This stuff happens.
And ultimately, we do get a little bit of a happy ending because at the end they explain what she's doing now. She's married. She's got kids. She has her
she's
own
happy.
business, and things are better, much better for her now.
Yeah,
so.
good. You know, and then she had to do boxing for a
She
Did
while.
boxing for
to,
celebrity
to make her
Yeah.
money, and then eventually, then she decided and then she wants the audience to know I'm a good mother.
Yeah.
And everything's good now. So, and whatever they say about Sean, they didn't say what Sean was doing.
Yeah, he's
No, they didn't say what Sean was doing.
I wanted to.
I want to know
I'm
what
getting
Sean
lit
is
up right
doing.
now.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's it for us. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next Angry Joe show. And by the way, I don't know if y'all know this, but I was once an international spy. When I was younger, okay, I was trained
No, you weren't.
in covert operative stuff.
We looked you
No,
up.
I was. Well, I did.
Where?
There was one magazine that had.
It was a travel magazine.
No, it was Game Informer
He was so
said that
covert
Angry
that he's
Joe
off the record.
was.
He's off the records.
And then he had this look in his face. It was
No, you
great.
weren't. Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
No, you weren't.
Oh,
Yeah, but I was.
I love it. All right, see you guys next time. Bye.